More juice for the gyro.
I like the juice. Juice is good.
Welcome in, guys, to another Decision Point live stream. Andy here with my good man, Steve, the Hitman Caladesi.
What is up, Steve? Brother? How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, man, because this is the time of year where I really get to dig in on some deep research, and this is when champions are made, dude, for 2022. So I feel like each year I just get a little bit more and more prepared, and this year is going to be the best ever for fantasy football and football cards. I can feel it, man.
I have to agree, man. I don't know if I've ever felt more dialed in than I am right now, and it's a great feeling, man. There's a lot of exciting things happening. I think the draft. I think the offseason has been crazy so far. I think the draft will be pretty surprising. I think there's quite a few deals to be made, and a lot of teams swapping players, and not just draft picks. I think it's going to be the WrestleMania of drafts, if you will.
Ooh, I like it, man. I like it, dude. It's really interesting because, we'll talk about the draft class a little bit tonight. We've also got a mailbag full of questions from you guys. Some really good questions, man. I'm excited about some of the questions tonight. We're going to talk about some of the latest NFL news as well, guys. But first, I want to make sure you guys remember that this show is sponsored by UnderdogFantasy.com. Look at all the different sports that they're doing pick'ems on now, Steve. They've got NBA, MLB, soccer, NHL. I didn't know they had PGA. You could literally have done pick'ems last week on the Masters, and they had a special line of Tiger Woods for 999 strokes. So just absolutely like another one of those layup pick'ems. You string a bunch together, you get a 20x return on your money. Not to mention all the drafts that they do. I've got 3 different slow NFL drafts going right now, super flex. So much correlation to look at risers and fallers and get an idea where guys are being taken. And dude, promo code QUEST. If you're a new user, guys, you get 100% instant deposit bonus. You get a free, $10 if you put in 10 instantly. So you can do whatever you want with that. Pick'ems, best ball drafts, the whole 9 yards. So they're changing the game, man. They're one of the coolest, and this is not just because I'm affiliated with them, but I honestly believe in their platform and their product.
I got to say, we've discussed this before. I had never done best ball drafts prior to, us doing them the past couple of weeks, and I really like them. I mean, I still have my, we're on like 12th or 13th year of the Friends and Family Keeper League that I'm in. And the same group of guys that's all been together for this duration. We do a redraft league as well every year, and that's fun. But I really like the concept of like throwing down a 5, 10, 20 spot and getting in a best ball draft where there's a lot of money to be made, hypothetically, and it's no maintenance, not low maintenance. It is no maintenance. You draft, and that's the team. There's no trading, there's no free agency for you guys out there that haven't experienced the best ball draft yet. I know we'll be doing more of them, and they are pretty exciting. It's an entirely new concept, and the low or no maintenance concept for people that are busy, because that's usually people's first thing. Oh, I don't have time to manage a football team. Fear not, you do not have to manage these teams.
Yeah, that's it, man. You don't have to manage it, and you get to focus on one of the most fun aspects of playing fantasy football, and that's the draft. So shout out to Underdog. Promo code QUEST, 100% instant deposit bonus for new signups, guys. Talking about the mailbag that we've got tonight, man. Before we get into the mailbag, Steve, I want to talk about some news that just broke today, man. That's kind of exciting. Free agency has kind of been over, but there's been a couple moves that have trickled in here just today that broke. Sammy Watkins signed a 1-year contract with the Green Bay Packers. Sammy Watkins, former number 4 overall pick from Clemson from that legendary 2014 draft class with Devontae Adams and Mike Evans and stuff. He broke out at 18.2, but he's only had over 1,000 receiving yards in 2015. So he struggled to really be an alpha producer, wide receiver, barely got to 500 receiving yards the past 2 years in Baltimore. Now he's in Green Bay for a year, Steve.
You know, Sammy Watkins has always been one of my favorite players. He's never quite lived up to his draft position. But that doesn't mean he's not capable. That doesn't mean that even at this point in his career that he can't do it. He was very young when he got into the league. He's still only 29 years old. And I think it could be a Cordell Patterson-esque type season for him. I think that people are going to still not expect very much of him, and he could produce significant fantasy weeks or even a whole season perhaps, and that's going to do insane things for his cards. I already know that I've seen the hobby effect on it because I have already had some sales this week on him.
Wow, yeah, you can see here today, guys, April 14th, that, people are selling Sammy Watkins cards. It's not, anything too crazy. Some pretty decent sales, though. I mean, numbered out of 99. I mean, this is fairly respectable. And that's coming from the draft pedigree. That's also what Aaron Rodgers can do. And you talk about the Green Bay market size, but check this out, Steve. So I pulled some interesting statistics on Aaron Rodgers that I felt was very interesting, right? Davante Adams. Let's talk about the time that Davante Adams missed with the Green Bay Packers and how Aaron Rodgers played during that time. And I think this is going to paint a pretty interesting picture. This is an interesting statistic here. So in 2019, Davante Adams had a turf toe in week 4. He missed 4 weeks. What did Rodgers do in that 4 weeks that he missed? He led the Packers to 4-0, won every single game that Davante Adams was not playing in. In fact, he beat the Cowboys, the Lions, the Raiders, in which he was QB1 that week with 5 touchdowns. And then he beat the Chiefs. And he was QB3 that week with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions when Davante Adams was out in 2019. In 2020, Davante Adams pulls a hamstring in week 2. He misses 2 weeks. Rodgers leads the Packers to another 2 wins while Davante Adams was out. He beat the Saints on Sunday Night Football, was the QB8 with 3 touchdowns, and then he beat the Falcons the next week, was the QB3 with 4 touchdowns.
I like that. That's a nice deep dive, Andy. And I think that a lot of people think that by Davante Adams being gone that they're not going to be good. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, how many teams have 2 top-tier running backs? I would consider both of the guys they have top tier. And if you can keep the chains moving, that puts a higher cap on all your receivers upside and as well as the quarterback. So I think that, Watkins, he could be a sneaky play this year. I mean, some of the guys they've had that have been on that team for years, I'm not hating on Lazard. I might be hating on Marquez Valdez-Scantling slightly, but he's not there anymore. But
with all those
guys played with Rodgers for years and never really capitalized on, their situation. So,
yeah. I definitely think you have to increase Alan Lazard's stock on the Green Bay Packers. He's definitely someone to look at. He's going to have a lot of scarcity around his rookie cards as well, so that's just going to add to the value of them. He went undrafted out of 2018. He showed flashes of brilliance kind of in that intermediate sector of the field. He's also, if you look at last year, had 8 receiving touchdowns in the 15 games he played. So there's some real upside there. He's just never kind of taken that next step. And a lot of people were very, very bullish on him when he was drafted. You can see he's got some good measurables at 6'3", 225, pretty solid height adjusted speed score. And the thing was, he was drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, didn't work out there. He was buried on a depth chart with Keelan Cole and a bunch of other guys, really good Allen Robinson. So he was buried on a depth chart in Jacksonville, didn't work out there. And so, you got to increase his stock. I think the Green Bay Packers still draft somebody as well. But I think with the draft pedigree, the elongated production curve of wide receivers, Sammy Watkins is definitely a viable play. A lot of people obviously agree with that. They're definitely buying some cards here, and the prices are very favorable, considering you compare that to Mike Evans or Davante Adams, or even if you were to compare it to Odell Beckham or who's another 2014 guy that I'm missing off the top of my Jarvis Landry. So he's still a free agent. He doesn't even have a home yet.
Man, could you imagine Landry ending up on Green Bay as well? I mean, they wouldn't even miss Devontae Adams at that point, in my opinion.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would. I think Rodgers is still going to find a way to win. That's why they prioritize the contract on Rodgers over Devontae Adams, and it was kind of a mutual parting of ways with Devontae Adams' lifelong dream to go play for the Raiders and be with his college quarterback in Derek Carr. So it'll be very interesting to see how the Packers perform. I think that ultimately my favorite play on the Packers is A.J. Dillon, which I've been, openly talking about him. I've been talking about A.J. Dillon forever now. I may have some pretty nice A.J. Dillon cards in the mail over here too, because I think his prices are still very favorable, Steve.
I don't know if this will come up later in the show, so I'll just bring it up now since we're talking about Green Bay already. Is my whole theory about that team was that they were either going to draft or trade for a very diverse offensive weapon, right? And I was thinking someone like a Cordero Patterson, someone like a Deebo Samuel. Could Sammy Watkins be that guy? He could. But here's the thing. I wouldn't rule out them getting Deebo Samuel either. And if you know anything about Deebo Samuel, he does not want to be in San Francisco at all. He's been very open about that. And I'm pretty sure that he knows his upside is very limited by their current quarterback play and their style of their offense. Could you imagine the upside of him getting the ball from Rodgers? I think it could be legendary tier season, possibly.
Yeah, dude, that is going to be that could be nasty. And, Deebo has deleted all of his social media pictures of the 49ers and all that stuff. So that's a really interesting narrative. I mean, I could potentially see it happening, man, because there's a lot of uncertainty there with the 49ers right now. And Kyle Shanahan's so freaking secretive, man, and John Lynch is too. They threw the biggest smokescreen there was last year drafting Trey Lance. So they had everybody convinced they were going Mac Jones or something like that. And then the last second they, got Trey Lance. So I don't know. I mean, you could see them coming out of left field with something. Let me say what's up to some of these guys in the chat. What's going on? Justin, 402 in the house. Kenny Walker. What's good, man? Literally. James. What's good, James? Go Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? What's going on, Boggy? Bob in the house, man. Hope that knee's feeling better. Todd. What's going on, Todd? KY Bug. What young quarterback do you think is going to break out this year? That's actually one of the questions in our mailbag. We're going to talk about the 2022 draft class and the 2021 draft class and kind of the product around each of those draft classes and kind of what we think is going to happen based on the strength of this new 2022 draft class. So stay tuned, KY Bug. We're going to get to that here in just a second. Get those reading glasses. I'll zoom in for you, man. Put it on the big screen. Put us on the big screen. Get the YouTube app on your TV, man, and blow us up, dude. Blow us up. That's Matt, right. What's good, man? Brian Holzer in the house. So the other news story that leaked today was AJ Green getting his 1-year extension or 1-year renewal, if you will, with the Arizona Cardinals. AJ Green's going to be 34 years old this year, Steve. 34, dude.
How can you not like that move, though? I mean, I love that move. I'm a big AJ Green fan. I mean, he's had an outstanding career, even with what some people would say is Andy Dalton in a negative connotation, throwing him the ball. But let's be honest, they had a great career together. And he actually had a really good season last year, in my opinion. Despite the number of games he missed, he still had 900 yards, give or take. Maybe it was closer to the high 800s or whatever. But that's quite a bit for an aging receiver in a offense where he's not even the first option.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. He did have close to 1,000 yards last year, 848 yards last year on 92 targets at 33 years old. That's pretty incredible. In fact, he's a 7-time Pro Bowler, right? He's around the same Hall of Fame marker probability as Deshaun Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins. He's just ahead of Cordero Patterson and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams got him slightly beat on touchdowns, but he's crushing Devontae Adams on receiving yards. He's got over 10,000 career receiving yards. Devontae Adams only around 8,000. He's got about 5 or 6 more touchdowns though. So I mean, it's pretty remarkable the career he's had, and he's still running a lot of snaps out of the slot. They're moving him around, so it's interesting to see him kind of rejuvenated because he had a pretty bad year with the Bengals before he left there. So it's interesting to see him rejuvenated. I don't know how much his stock's going to go up, but of course, the Cardinals could come out and surprise a lot of people. They're probably going to be right back in a playoff run in 2022. It's just yet like if they can win in the playoffs, then we're going to start to see like an accelerated amount of hype around all those guys. Right now, Kyler Murray, his rookie cards are so dirt cheap compared to like all the other elite quarterbacks. It's kind of crazy. Even Kyler Murray slipping in fantasy drafts, like going like number 9 overall, which like with his rushing upside and with his deep ball accuracy, I'm like, no, there's no way, dude. He's a good value. Like at the end of the first round in a super flex draft, I'd be snagging some Kyler Murray.
Can I point out how nice that purple refractor looked? The one that you just said.
Right this one right here.
Yeah, I love the 2011 Chrome. And there's actually from the Topps base set from that same year. Whenever I find them cheap, I actually do buy quite a few AJ Green rookies. Nothing high end, but some of the short print stuff. And there's actually a short print variation of that card from Topps from that year, which I like. And there's actually also a serial numbered version, which is considered gold, right? Base Topps, but it's gold and it is serial numbered. So those are some of the cards I like from that set. And they can be had for relatively inexpensive.
Yeah. Let us know, guys, in the chat. You're out there. Of course, if you're enjoying the live stream tonight, leave us a thumbs up on the live stream. Let that YouTube algorithm know we're putting out some good content here. And let us know, are you buying AJ Green? Are you buying any Sammy Watkins on the news today? They're very cheap. It's going to be pretty speculative because we know that the youth factor, that rookie factor drives a lot of, in the hobby, and so does the playoff probability and the potential production on a weekly basis. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think out there as we dig into this mailbag.
Ooh, that Bowman Chrome's nice there, Andy, too. The gold one.
Yeah, I like those. I do like those Bowman Chromes from 2011. I had a couple of Julio Jones of those as well, man. Those are nice thick cards, man. They do look good. Short print too. Short print.
Here's the thing too, since we're talking AJ Green, a lot of those other guys you mentioned, some of his short print or even his serial numbered or auto stuff is still significantly cheaper than some of the other guys too. So that if you're collecting for a long-term investment for a guy that could maybe make the Hall of Fame, there's worse places you can look than AJ Green.
That's very true. I appreciate you, Kenny. Cheers to you guys. I appreciate the love there, Kenny. Let's dig into this mailbag. Let's see what we got, man. Let's see what we got because we've been harvesting a lot of really good questions here. Big help from 402 Collector out there, our content director, man. So let's check it out. All right. The first one is Curtis Lumberg from our YouTube channel here. What will happen with grading demand and prices for submissions over the next year or two? And is it going to be a better strategy to just buy rare raw cards instead?
I like that question. So if I had to guess, it's only going to get more competitive. Therefore, the price should come down. When PSA, Beckett, when they're like the main two heads on the block, they could charge, essentially whatever they want. And the more competitive it gets, we talked about, CSG and their bulk submission offer that they have right now. When you have reputable companies start dropping their price, other companies are going to have to try to compete. If you look at how many cards are submitted to some of these major companies versus SGC, the ratio is continually favoring SGC over the last year and a half. And I think that only gets better and better and better. So as it gets more competitive, they're going to have to find ways to draw you to them versus the other company. So I think that, the prices should come down. And I think, we've talked about this before too, the whole raw thing. Don't be scared to sell a card raw. You don't have to buy a card, grade it, then sell it. Do the raw card thing. Honestly, like, there is a process. It is time consuming. You don't necessarily get the grade you think you're going to get every time. You could end up losing money on the deal. Raw cards, as you said last week, are selling for around the same prices as nines. Mm-hmm. So you're running a very serious risk unless you have a pack fresh card that you pulled yourself. It's never been mailed. It's never been handled by anyone else. Yeah, raw cards are fine.
Hey, man, I've got to agree with you here. I think the majority of the cards that I want to buy low and sell high are going to be raw, man. Just because I don't want to run the risk of getting a 9 or anything lower that's going to, prevent me from being able to profit on that card. And I certainly do not want to be here trying to crack cards. You guys have seen me crack a slab in a previous video. I'm not good at it, man. It's not fun. I agree with you here. So a lot of my strategy is to buy raw, flip raw. Now, I do think it is fun. I love the suspense of, like, sending the cards in and, like, hoping you get a 10 and then getting the reveal and, like, seeing that grade, and you're either really, disappointed or you're really ecstatic, like, oh, I can't believe I got a 10 on this, and that happened with me with my SGC submission last year. So I am we're actually putting together, this is going to be a Patreon exclusive benefit. We're going to do a group submission to CSG and test out their new labels this summer. And we're going to do their bulk submission. I'm excited about that. We're going to be putting together a bunch of patrons cards, and we're going to do a group submission. We're going to pick the best of the best. We're going to be using pre-grading software. I think you got to use that if you want to do it, to, like, not only just help you pre-grade it, give you an idea of what it could be. And that kind of, I cross-correlated that with the pre-grades with what SGC gave me back, and it was pretty accurate, that fgscards.com. So I think if you can get a 10, then it's worth your while, man. But I agree with you. I think the prices are going to become more and more competitive. You can see CSG is trying to get more and more in the game, trying to wiggle their way in, man. They're right there in the thick of it with the paper and coin grading companies backing them and everything. They're intertwined now with eBay. So love the question. It's just, if you can get a 10, like, that's it, man. That's it. You're golden. But if not, just, like, there's no problem with buying raw, selling raw. There's no problem with that at all, man. For those liquid rare cards that we talk about, comparable scarcity, man, buy raw, sell raw. Why not? I mean,
I'll add one more little quick detail to that too. And I think the older the card is, the 9 isn't as scary for an older card, right? Or even an 8, depending how old the card is. But if you're talking like modern, a 9 is okay and an 8 is bad, right? And you want 10s. So my opinion, if you're grading a card to resell, make sure it's a card that the multiplier is good enough to warrant sending it out, right? Because if you get a 9 and you sell it for what you could have sold it for raw, you basically are down money, right? But if the multiplier is like 6 times and you want to take that 50-50 and maybe get a 10, absolutely do it.
Absolutely, man. And at $12 a card for the CSG, it's going to be a no-brainer. And I think we could probably, it looks like, we've got quite a few participants. We've got almost 40 patrons now in the Discord server. And 402 just started up that channel. So if you do, Brian, like, if you're interested, it's only $6 a month. You can be part of the club, man. You can get right in the fold and take advantage of all the other bonus perks as well. We're putting out bonus content there. I put out a written content, extra written content on a weekly basis, Discord server, monthly giveaway, that whole kind of stuff. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about that, the future of CSG. I like SGC as well. The next question, Steve, is from Mark Speltz on the YouTube channel. Are you ever tempted to collect, invest, flip any other sport than football? He dabbles in baseball some, but always thinking about if I should continue that diversification or just have one niche.
Awesome question. And, I think it's important to maybe focus on a specific area, not exclusively. But as long as you know what you're doing or have done enough research, absolutely diversify. I mean, we're like I said last week on the show, maybe people don't know this, but as far as the top 3 hobby cards go, football is actually third, right? And I think that'll only help the growth for football value in the long run, because as more people get into the hobby, the amount of cards stays the same, right? So it will only naturally bring up the value per card. But baseball, which is actually number one back and forth with basketball, the baseball rookie class this year is very comparable to the 2020 rookie class in football. I mean, just loaded with guys that you can invest in. So if you know what you're doing, not only will that help you stay interested in the hobby longer, but it might make it more enjoyable for you too, especially if you watch both sports. And I tend to dabble in a little bit of baseball, not a lot. I stick with football 90% of the time. I mean, I got some WWE stuff that I have, some stuff from movies once in a while. If I see something I like, I'll pick it up. But yeah, man, do what you enjoy, do what makes you happy, do what makes it fun for you. And if you want to do it as part of the quest and make it profitable too, there's absolutely room for other hobbies, sports in there.
The easy answer for me is never. But it's different for me because I am the content colossus behind the quest, right? And so, there's that saying, right? You want to be the jack of all trades or the master of one. I think it goes. That's how it goes, right, Steve?
No, I'm 100% with you on that, and that's why I mainly do football and then dabble a little bit in a couple other things, because the amount of time you would need to spend researching a whole new tier of players, a whole new sport of players, figuring out who's hot, who's not. I mean, here's the thing with baseball. They play 6 games a week, 5 games a week, typically, So if a guy has a 3 home run night, you better sell some cards that night because he could go 0 for 10 the next couple of games. So, I mean, It's an entirely different dynamic. Whereas with football, a guy has a huge game and you have 6 days to sell that guy's cards before the cycle starts over again. You know what I mean? So it is very different,
Yeah, and the thing is, if I was not creating content before I started this YouTube channel, I was actually buying basketball cards. Did I really know what I was doing? Not really. I was just taking advice from other people that were doing it as well, and I was buying. So there wasn't my own research and analysis behind it. So I wasn't super passionate about it. I didn't really believe in what I was doing. It was more just like, hey, someone told me to buy this, Scottie Pippen card, so I'm buying the Scottie Pippen card, and I don't know. I didn't really like knowing, the backstory. Like growing up, yeah, I watched basketball. I played baseball for 10 years. I'm an avid golfer. Like still to this day, I am still passionate about golf. Still follow golf. So that's like the one thing that I would probably have the most analysis around outside of football. But I create content for football card collectors, investors, and I want to be the best at it. I want to know. I want to be extremely knowledgeable at it. And with how many nuances there are in sports cards, I feel that the best way to do this is to dedicate myself to one sport. And I'm completely fine with that, man, because I love playing fantasy football. I'm completely fine dedicating myself to just football. It's also the largest, like we'll talk about this in the next question, but for me, that's where I'm at, man. You're never going to see me deviate from football cards.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with that. And, for those of the people that are neck deep in this thing, like you and I are, the time requirements to analyze to such depth another sport or even another realm of the hobby, I mean, it would have to be your full-time job. I mean, it literally would be if you want to be successful with it, unless you're doing it just for fun. Hey, I like that guy. That guy's from my college. That guy's from my hometown. Or, hey, I went to a wrestling pay-per-view when I was 12 and that guy, had a good match or whatever. Like, yeah, collect it, go for it. But if you're doing it as an investment, probably safer to stick with what you know. And in this case, Andy and myself, it's definitely football.
Hell yeah, guys. And I see a lot of comments coming in. If you wanted to get into our group submission, Discord server, all that kind of stuff that we're talking about, the link is in the description of this video. to our Patreon page. It's just patreon.com/footballcards. This is another really interesting question here. We're going to the 2021 product. All right. Do you think that the modern football card market has surpassed the modern baseball card market? This is a perfect parlay off our previous question. If not, do you think it will in the near future? And this is hard for me to gauge because I'm not like, I don't look at anything baseball card related. I don't follow baseball on a daily or weekly basis. I catch like the major news stories that come across my desk, but otherwise I'm not in the thick of it. I have no like, no take on this other than, yeah, I do think I do see that football cards are growing. I do know that the NFL is the largest revenue earning sports league in the world by a large margin. And so, yeah, I think it's going to continue to grow.
The football card hobby has not caught up to the popularity of football, right? Whereas with baseball, it's always kind of been pretty similar, right? However, football card collecting, again, wasn't around as long as baseball either. So you do have a lot of newer people getting into it, and that's good. Here's one thing I'll point out. If you live somewhere where there's access to retail product. Now, in my case, in the Chicagoland area, not happening, right? It ain't happening unless you know the guy that drops the shit on the shelf at Walmart. You won't ever get any product unless you're there at like 7 a.m. when they open. So if you live somewhere where they do have product, just go in there and look, and you'll probably see what I'm telling you, and that's that no football will be there, at least in my area. No football will be there. Not even the lower tier playoff and some of the other brands from Panini. Those won't be there. But you'll see some bottom shelf baseball stuff like base tops. Maybe that tells you something. Maybe that tells you that there is a changing of the guard either happening or happening soon. I think happening soon.
I think, talking to Flipping Steve, who's one of my good friends, fellow content creator, shout out to Flipping Steve. When he got into the hobby in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was kind of like the time period where I was being a degenerate in high school and falling out of the hobby. He was like, there was a ton of demand for skill position players. Like the skill position players were valued just as highly as the quarterbacks, and they were very desirable. And it was very much a balanced hobby for football cards at the time, and it was very highly demanded. And that changed, but now it's changing again to where when I first got in 2020, it took a lot longer for skill position players to catch on, and now it's become mainstream. We all seen it happen to so many different skill position players last year, and how tightly it is now correlated with fantasy football. You see demand for just mega skill position producers on teams that have no shot at the playoffs, and it's like their values are going up. You still see people buying, reaching on their cards from time to time if the scarcity's there and everything. All that collectability factors are there around it. So I do think it's growing. I think you're right. I mean, just from like a fan base, from a, just the size of the NFL and how many fans they have and how much they are broadcasted on TV. I think it is going to take over baseball cards, especially if baseball continues to do these, holdout things, this kind of going on strike, stuff like that. Now that COVID's over, it's like, that's, I don't know. I think the NFL, you can see how this offseason has been. This offseason has been incredible, in terms of the news and the team changes and the trades of signings and how much hype that is generated in the card market. It's like the season never ended,
I think the answer for most questions, and that could be anything from whatever, conspiracy theories to football cards, you follow the money, right? Follow the money if you want the answer. And what did Fanatics do? They bought the license for football cards, right?
The PA license, yeah.
Yeah, then they bought Topps, right? So if you think that football cards are going anywhere anytime soon, you're way off. In my opinion, I think that they're going to hit unprecedented levels because this company just bought them, hasn't produced a single product yet, and they are going to be locked and loaded for that first set, second set, third set, fourth set. Mm-hmm. You're going to see commercials during the football games for it. I mean, They're going to have card shops in the ball stadiums. I'm telling you right now, you don't spend that kind of money and not have a plan. They have a plan, and it's going to be nice.
There you go, man. So with that knowledge, all right, this question comes from Honeynut. The last one, by the way, was from Canton Card Collector. This one comes from Honeynut on the YouTube channel. Do you think sealed 2021 Mosaic boxes are a good hold-in? And with Mosaic boxes specifically.
I think any retail or hobby product sealed is a good investment, because most likely opening it is a probable loss, right? And I think that a lot of it hinges on how well the draft class as a whole performs over the next year or two. If you have even just one guy who becomes prolific, you're going to see massive gains on that product, right? And I don't want people to think that it's like, oh, well, if I didn't get a sealed product of Prism or Optic, then I'm out of the game, right? That's absolutely not true. You just need a guy. Like, any sealed product from Brady's rookie year is probably very expensive. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
And not every guy is Tom Brady, but I'm just using that as one end of the spectrum as an example.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear from you guys in the chat if you guys are able to find any Mosaic in retail stores in your area, and if you've bought any off of eBay. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on that. If you're holding it, if you're selling it, because we are literally just days away, 2 weeks away from the draft, and Panini just cleverly decided to drop, Optic, Prism, and Select just within the 3-week period around the draft. So I'm curious to hear what you're doing with your Mosaic and if you think that, stock is going to go up, but sealed product, right? You have 5 first-round drafted quarterbacks. The jury's still out on all of them. And not to mention the skill position players, freaking Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, it's just the name to Javonte Williams, who I'm super excited about in 2022. So, yeah, I mean, right? Good hold.
I can tell you firsthand that I've never seen Mosaic football on a retail shelf. I can tell you that even finding it on the Target website is incredibly difficult. When it does go up, it's usually gone right away. So unless you know someone that's like, hey, it's up, better go grab it real quick, it does typically vanish pretty quickly. Will that still be the case in a couple weeks? I think so. I absolutely think so, because if you look at other football products, even Donruss, not on the website, right? Not on the Target website. So there's nothing sticking around. There's still going to be price tiers that people are comfortable with, and Mosaic is a little bit higher up on that scale. But when Prism drops and Optic drops, you're going to be talking about, I don't know what the blasters are going to be, but if you're paying 30, 35 for a Mosaic blaster, you're probably going to be paying over 50. Would you not agree, for some of the higher end stuff?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Retail prices in general have gone up. I mean, in fact, like, I pulled up prices of what they're selling for now. Like, the blasters are selling for $42. So about $40, which is not a whole lot more than what they're selling for in retail. I think the blasters in retail are going for about, what, $30 to $40, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Target, I want to say they were between 30 and 35 the last couple of times I've seen them. So yeah, and if they're offering it at 42 with free shipping, that's about the same price, right? Because if you bought it for 35, you pay 10% tax, you pay for shipping, you're right around $42. So I mean, that seems like about right. And that's, the retailers realize that these cards will not last on the shelf. They can mark it up as often as they want to, which I think is unfortunate.
Yeah, and you can see this is April 14th. I mean, people are buying, like, we're going, like, I mean, if you just look at today's transactions alone, I mean, we're talking, well, this was a break. So, I mean, all that stuff was ripped open today. Look at all this product, Mosaic product, that's making its way to the market. Eventually, it's going to become rare, right? Eventually it's going to become rare. Sealed product. Let's say Trevor Lawrence goes on to fulfill his Peyton Manning narrative corollary and breaks out second, third year. Mac Jones leads the Patriots to the playoffs or something. Trey Lance actually comes out and dominates for the 49ers, and Jimmy G is gone. There's so many, Justin Fields in Chicago. There's so many narratives around quarterbacks alone, not to mention the incredible skill position players that came from 2021. And then we talk about 2022. It's almost like I feel like a lot of us are going to be living vicariously again through the 2021 class, because the 2022 class is a lot weaker. Like, I did in-depth analysis around wide receivers. Yeah, we got a few good ones like Drake London, Treylon Burks, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jahan Dotson. There's some interesting wide receivers, I think. But you look at the running backs, it gets even more consolidated to like Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. And then there's some guys with some interesting satellite backs, like a lot of good satellite backs, a lot of like guys that have some raw tools, but there's nobody that really stands out. And then you talk about quarterbacks. You got Malik Willis from Liberty, small school, right? And then there's this story that when you talk about his freshman year in college, he got beat out by Jarrett Stidham in college, like coming into his freshman year. I don't know if it was so much he got beat out, but he was a freshman. Jarrett Stidham was like a junior at that time. So that kind of goes against him as well. Like, it's hard to beat out a junior when you're a freshman unless you're like, just really electric. So there's some interesting, like, he's got some raw tools. He's fast. He's got a pretty good arm, like a cannon. Like, I've seen him throw 60-yard passes at his pro day. And you got a guy that kind of looks like Marcus Mariota in Desmond Ridder. You got some decent tools in Matt Corral and Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett with the baby hands, but he looks pretty good. Like, he looks like he's NFL ready. And I don't know. So there's guys with some potential, but it's nothing like, dude, this guy's going number one overall. He was, legend in college, this and that. Look at the athletic profile on this guy. I'd say there's more hype around the defensive players in this draft. Like, freaking Sauce Gardner, man, looks like a badass, dude. Derek Stingley was a badass at LSU a couple years ago before he got hurt.
What's that defensive end's name? The cat that they're talking about drafting in Detroit, the edge rusher.
It's either Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, Hutchinson.
Yeah, I mean, so both those guys look really good.
From a hobby standpoint, not to say that like those guys won't make an impact on their team. They absolutely will. But from a hobby standpoint, there's obviously less of a focus on defensive players, right? And even on the offensive side of the ball, we just had insanity with the 2020 draft class. And we've got like a bunch of viable QBs and a pretty great set of wide receivers, even out of 2021. So after you just had those two, even if this class was pretty good, it would seem weak in comparison, right?
Yeah, it's in 2020 too. So it's anticlimactic. Like, no matter how you slice it, you're not going to live up to Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and then all the college pedigree from Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. Like, you can't live up to that. I mean, it's like this 2022 class, like, it's just set up for failure. Like, it's just set up for disappointment, except for some of these defensive guys, and maybe that's kind of like the pivot. So I still think, though, that FOMO is like one of the biggest drivers in the hobby outside of a Super Bowl, and so there's going to be FOMO. Like, somebody's going to break out from this rookie class in 2022, and probably more than one guy. If Sauce Gardner gets, I don't know, if he gets drafted and he goes on an interception streak. We saw this happen with Trayvon Diggs last year. His rookie cards available for him, especially the stuff that's rare and autographed, like, they're gonna freaking blow up, because it's like, dude, it's the next, Deion Sanders, next lockdown corner, next Darrelle Revis, whatever the case, whoever they want to correlate him to, and like his cards are gonna blow up. The same thing with Thibodeau and Hutchinson. So it can easily happen for defensive players if they come out of the gates. Like, look at Micah Parsons last year as a rookie, man. And he shut down some quarterbacks. He was dropping in coverage a lot. Like, he was all over the freaking field and on a big market team. Next thing you know, guy gets a few sacks, makes a couple big plays. His cards are blowing up.
Yeah, I mean, even just from, digging into my personal investments lately, like I'm still buying mostly 2020 players. I'll be 100% honest with a sprinkle of 2021 guys. And I think I'm sticking with the narrative that we're discussing right now. When the new cards come out, I'll be intrigued, right? I'll want a little taste of the new like everyone else does. But I don't know. I'm not seeing like a lot of what I want to necessarily throw a good amount of money at. So I'm going to stick with my Burrows, my T. Higgins, CeeDee Lambs, the guys that I really like, and I think are going to, keep making an impact on the league and just keep rolling with that.
I'm going to shout out to Derek Richard here because he's a huge Devy guy, which is like fantasy football for college football. And I have heard a lot of hype like brewing already for 2023. You talk about our man Carter the Power's favorite guy, Kayshon Boutte from LSU, or Boutte, if that's how you pronounce it, and Bryce Young. So this is why, guys. This is why I ordered the Bowman U product, one of the very first, if not the first, products from Fanatics through Topps. Bowman U. It's going to have the Bowman First logo on it. I also am just like, I'm curious to see if they're increasing the hit rate in this product because it's like their first product out of the door. It's also college uniforms, but it's going to have autograph cards in it. I've got it coming. It's going to be here April 27th. The cool thing about it is it's not just 2022 draft candidates. It's got juniors in it in their college uniform, name, image, and likeness. It's going to be juniors, maybe some sophomores, but we looked at the checklist. Carter said it's mostly juniors. So we're talking 2023 class, and I've got the potential to get a good chunk of these 2023 class guys that I could start potentially flipping now based on their which I think is really cool. So if you're big into college football, you're big into Devy, then this is like the perfect product for you. And there's a chance that with the way baseball collectors and investors view the first Bowman as the true official rookie card of a player, this may start to be considered something like, that initial pre-draft rookie card, which could have some really nice value associated with it.
You could be sitting on a Bryce Young superfractor in the mail coming your way and make you a rich man, dude. Just don't retire, man. I like doing this once a week with you on this.
Yeah, no, that would free up some of my other time, and I would just be able to focus on this, guys, and we'll do like 2 videos a day. We'll just start going ham, man.
Non-stop best ball drafts.
Hell yeah,
around
dude.
the clock. Let's go.
I need to do more, man. That Underdog Best Ball Superflex one is 88% full, and they're going to stop it on April 28th, so the day of the draft. They've already taken the slow drafts down from 8 hours to 4 hours. So, guys, new to get on some Underdog, promo code Quest, new sign up, 100% instant deposit bonus. Just start doing some best ball drafts because you draft it and you forget it. They optimize throughout the year. You get a chance to win $50,000 in that main tournament. But as we get into July, August, when we start doing private ones with guys in the Discord and guys in the YouTube community, you guys out there, we could do private ones where we put in $5, $10, $25 and we play just against each other. It's a lot of fun.
I'm excited to do some more. I know we should maybe do one this week, even if it's not on our normal night. And I'm going to do one off stream myself for sure. So if you want to jump in the same one, I think that'd be fun.
So we kind of already answered this, Steve, but this is from Christian Stefanski from the YouTube channel. He's curious about defensive players and kickers. What are your thoughts? And I wrote down here, "Oh, hell yes!" exclamation point.
That's the thing is I love them. I'm not like, don't get me wrong. I understand the only buy QB aspect, right? But there is a market, and there's a growing market for defensive players, and there's a growing market for other position players. Like, Justin Tucker has a huge collecting market, right? Evan McPherson has a huge collecting market. And believe it or not, Younghoe Koo from the Falcons is developing a large collecting market. So, I mean, kickers have a market, right? That's pretty damn cool, in my opinion. I wish they would bring in more cards rather than printing, and this is maybe something if someone from Fanatics is out there, holler at me. But instead of printing like just veterans who haven't been in the league in 30 years every year in some of these sets, let me get some linemen, right? Let me see some more kickers. Damn it. I want some kickers.
Hell yeah. I mean, dude, think about it. I mean, these guys contribute to some of the biggest wins in NFL history. Justin Tucker, what's his name? Shoot, I'm thinking of Justin Tucker. Adam Vinatieri. What was not Janikowski, but he's a legend in his own right.
Janikowski's a stud. Robbie Gould is a stud.
Robbie Gould's a stud. Adam Vinatieri. I haven't looked at what Pat McAfee's cards are, but as a punter, I guarantee you, I mean, he's got one of the most popular NFL shows there is.
Because of his podcast show, his cards have gone up a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you could
you probably could have bought some of his rare cards for a few dollars, but that's not the case anymore, for sure.
I mean, here's April 13th.
That's a base Donruss card.
It's a base Donruss from 2016.
Donruss
Someone paid $5 for it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Let me see Pat McAfee rookie card, and that's the thing, man. These guys contribute to some of the most legendary wins in the NFL. It's all about that storyline and the market size, likability off the field. Like, how relevant are they? Pat McAfee is extremely relevant, dude. His show is one of the best.
Look at that.
Yeah, dude. 2018.
$100.
$100 sold just a few days ago.
That guy probably got that as a pack filler from somebody.
There's his. No, that's not his rookie card. They're calling that his rookie card.
If you go look up what Justin Tucker rookie cards go for, they're base cards. They go for a lot of money.
It doesn't have a lot, and he doesn't have a lot. You know, that's the thing. Like, there's not a lot. Like, look, there's this one card. I mean, it's a base card selling for $15. Like, shoot, you know. And there's a lot of them. Like, you see a lot of transactions.
These guys are, and here's the thing: if you're a football fan and a hobby fan, like, these guys are an integral part of your team winning games every week, and they're not getting printed half the time because, and don't get me wrong, I love veterans, I love Hall of Famers, but you don't need a Dan Marino in a 2022 product, and you don't need, Marcus Colston in a 2022 product. I like Marcus Colston, I like Dan Marino, but there's guys playing the game right now who don't get cards made of them. Why?
Yeah, I think that Panini should be looking at these sold transactions for like Evan McPherson. Let's look at some sold. Like today, Morton Anderson, 1984.
Nice mullet.
That's selling, dude. That's the thing. These cards for these guys sell more than some skill position player. Yeah, Evan McPherson, one of the most clutch kickers in the league on the Bengals, took them to the Super Bowl, is selling for more than a lot of skill position players. You saw his Genesis sold for $100.
I got into a contenders break, a few of them a couple weeks ago, and the amount of people were paying for his slot in the break is unbelievable. His cool, rookie ticket autos go for a lot. Like, I've seen him go for over $100. This is a kicker.
What's the Kansas City Chiefs kicker? Dude, the kickers' names are slipping my mind right now. That's bad.
It's not Cairo Santos. No, he used to be on.
No, not Cairo Santos. Man, it's on the tip of my tongue too, dude. He made a couple really clutch kicks in 2020. Cantasero? Was that Cantasero? You guys know out there in the chat?
See, I'm looking it up right now.
What? Dude, that's bad.
Yeah, major brain fart right now. Let's see. Harrison Butker.
Yes. Harrison Butker. Dude, the guy's a freaking stud, man. His cards spiked like crazy early in the 2020 season. Yes, you guys are awesome, man. You guys are awesome.
Andy, do you have any Martin Gramatica cards?
Oh, dude, I got to get myself an autographed Martin Gramatica card. Dude, he's the man. I ran into him at the grocery store.
No way.
This was I ran because he lives here in Tampa. I ran into him in the grocery store. They had a little Tampa Bay Bucks like booth set up in the public supermarket. I ran in there. I said, "Oh shoot, that's Martine." He's so approachable and so like such a nice guy. I just went up to him and said, "Martine, man, we need you back. I know you can still kick." This is when we had Roberto Aguayo as our kicker. And I was like, "Martine, we need you back, man." And he just laughed. He thought it was so funny, dude. But, shook my hand, like, nice guy, would have signed whatever for me or whatever. And he's just, you see him around in Tampa. He's just like a normal guy,
But see, that's what I mean. Like, you would buy that card, right? If he had a card with an auto on it, I would buy that card, right? And that's the thing is, like, I'm not saying that there's not a place for a Hall of Famer in the Mosaic set or in the Prism set or whatever, but like, print your kickers, man. These guys are important, and they have a following.
Hopefully they learned from Evan McPherson this past year that like
autographics are some of my favorite late 90s cards. I mean, they were the go-to autograph insert for baseball, football. I don't know if hockey had one or not. Basketball had them too. And that was the interesting is because Skybox was making cards for all different sports, right? And autographics was like, if you pulled an autographics of a big player, that was a big deal. Look at that, $5. That's a must buy.
Yeah, $5. I think I'm gonna buy that one, and then I'm gonna come in here and watch this one because Bucks logos here. Got the blue Sharpie on the on card here from the Bucks, and dude, that's how I remember Martine right there, man. Dude celebrated so much he freaking like broke his ankle on a celebration one time from making a kick.
I say you got to find a hand-signed rookie so that he's got the creamsicle colored uniform on.
That's cool, man. That is cool.
I showed you that. What's his name? I can't remember his first name. Moore, the punter for the Bucks. I got his hand-signed rookie from Pro Set, I think it was.
Very interesting. Yeah, man, kickers relevant, defensive players very relevant. I would go immediately to your edge rushers and your corners. I think this is fantastic, man. This has been an excellent show. I'd like to take if you guys have any questions out there in the chat. We're at 57 minutes. I'd like to take a question from you guys in the chat.
Rapid fire. Who's going to get it?
Bob says, Pat Lay was all the Jets could brag about for years. Did he ever miss? Wait, what?
That might have been before my time. I'm not familiar with Pat Leahy. But if you have to ask that question, if you ever miss, he must not have missed very often, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
We'll be on. Yeah. Again, if you have to ask, I'm going to go with the safe bet of no.
No. Well, I'll be on time to work tomorrow. I don't know, man. It depends on how far you got to drive, what time that is in the morning, what else you're getting into tonight. If
you send me and Andy your traffic analytics for that time of day, we can probably
yeah, we'll crunch that shit before you
correct.
Yeah, I got myself a little Cabernet Sauvignon, some fancy. Nah, some little bit of wine tonight.
Clanging
Easter
and banging
weekend
as usual. If you guys are out there and you want to sponsor the show, just saying.
There we go, man. You got the juice.
Always juiced. Always. Hey, you know what? If someone tells you not to drink caffeine at 8:45 p.m., tell them, don't tell me how to live my life, man. That's what I'm saying.
Brian says, who have you recently been buying a lot lately? Steve, you want to go first?
I've still been buying T. Higgins. I think I've probably said that like every time that question's been asked, but I just don't think. I mean, his prices spiked and they've come way back down to earth, and I think that that's great. If you're trying to still get in on the T. Higgins market, I think that you've only seen a taste of the T machine. He's going to really spike it up this year.
Interesting.
But also Dak. I've been buying Dak too.
Oh hell yeah. I'm all over that. I gotta buy some more, dude. I gotta buy some more. I've been buying AJ Dillon. I've been buying AJ Dillon lately. Just because I can't turn down deals that I find. You know?
Yeah, I mean a guy that's essentially a year or two away from being the focal point of that offense.
Yeah.
He holds value now in a timeshare. Imagine if he wasn't in a timeshare. Andy, do you got an envelope to open on air today? I don't know if we were going to do that or not.
I do have an envelope to open.
Let's go.
I don't know what's going to be in it though. Here, you want to answer this question about what's your favorite set to look at, not necessarily to invest in? Oh, that's an interesting one.
That is a good one. You know, it kind of maybe encapsulates both categories of this question, but I love Spectra. Spectra is amazing to look at, and I actually like investing in Spectra too because I think it has so much eye appeal, and there's so many cards that are serial numbered that it makes it hard not to want to buy as from an investment standpoint. And if you look at the meta, which is the cards numbered out of 25, they are especially nice to look at, and in particular the negative variations, which are kind of black and white looking. Check those out if you haven't seen them yet.
Dude, I love the 2021 Spectra. It looks so clean, man. Like, it looks so clean.
I think that it could be maybe the most slept on set. Not necessarily that there's not sets that are less or more popular, but in my opinion, it should be more popular than it is, in my opinion.
Mute. All right, we got some. Whoop, did it again. Hold on. We don't want that feedback.
Let's see what do we got here. Kirk Cousins. I like that. 2021 score throwback looks nice. Score is there. You know what? Here's the thing about scores. You're not going to get anything out of those base cards, but if you find like there's actually some autos that are very scarce. They're not serial numbered, but they do fetch. I take that back. Some of them are serial numbered, but I actually have a couple from that set. I have like a Roquan Smith, J.C. Jackson, to name a few. Let's see. Darren Waller rookies. Are they a good buy? I think that maybe the best time to buy him would be now before he starts producing again. You know, he did have quite a bit of a bum year last year. And the outside being stretched should really open up the middle for him. I have about 2 or 3 of his silver prism rookies, and I think that if you can get a couple of those at a good price, it's going to be a nice return. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Testing. I'll make sure I don't have feedback. I gotta get this thing figured out. It's like kind of like glitching up a little bit, huh? It's kind of lagging a little bit.
A little bit. We can see.
A little bit, not too bad. As long as they're not getting like crazy feedback. I've got it muted and I've got the audio, but this is not like I guess maybe I have to check my StreamYard membership or subscription to see if there's like a different tier to where I can just like add in another camera. It's nothing crazy. I'm gonna save. This will be a little treat for you guys. Let's see what we got in this plain white envelope. This could be a few different cards that I can think of. A few different players, I should say. You know, I do like to diversify. Oh, you caught me, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm hot on the trail for Mitch Trubisky, dude. I'm rolling the dice that he's going to start with Pittsburgh and actually like put his best foot forward.
You know, while he might not be the headline story for the free agent offseason, I think that he's in a position to be one of the biggest stories that started as an offseason move. I mean, he is such an upgrade over, you know, last year's version of Ben Roethlisberger that I'm actually really intrigued to see what that team can do. They have a very tough schedule, but I mean, Mitch is a very capable quarterback.
Very capable quarterback, man. Yeah, we talked about it. Number 2 overall pick, man. Just never gelled with Chicago. But if he plays anything like he did for Buffalo in preseason last year, this is going to be good, you know? And I think that the competition that they bring in from the draft, it's almost going to be like a red shirt. Like, they're not going to start. Like, I don't think any of these guys, whether it's Malik Willis or Pickett, are going to beat out Trubisky to kind of start day one with now the experience that he's got and everything. Just,
you know, here's my take on this, Andy, and this actually ties into what we talked about earlier in the show. If everyone actually thinks that next year's draft is so good, which if you're a front office person for Pittsburgh, you probably know even better than we do, right? Why would you waste a pick on a quarterback this year when you just signed Mitch Trubisky, when you can draft one of those guys next year? Just saying.
It's Steeler 96 loves him some Mason Rudolph, but Trubisky's got way better wheels. Like, if you just purely look at the analytics and the metrics, Trubisky has got some serious mobility upside. He's also got a freaking cannon for an arm. If he could just like develop that, you know, kind of toss it in a breadbasket, Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson deep ball, I think we're talking about, you know, some serious upside for Trubisky. And the 2017 product is so nice. Like, I grabbed this for under $10. I grabbed this for $8, and it's, you know, just a really nice card from 2017. There's scarcity in just the base optics for quarterbacks of 2017. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson, look at Patrick Mahomes, even look at guys like Christian McCaffrey or Cooper Kupp or Chris Godwin. I mean, you know, there's scarcity in the base optics and stuff. So I'm kind of grabbing them up, like, if they're super cheap and they come with plain white envelope, because I can definitely see this card going for like double or triple what I paid easy, you know?
Yeah, I know we've discussed him at length in a couple of other episodes, but I mean, you want to talk about a guy that just, they never gave a chance, right? I mean, people forget this guy, despite the awful coaching staffs he's had to play for, the 4 offensive coordinators he's had to play for, the lack of offensive line through his entire career, there's just so much expectation for a guy that they gave no chance to. And you can look at Justin Fields as a almost identical barometer for this guy, right? Now let's look at a guy like Josh Allen and look at what his quarterback coach did for him. Look at what his coach did for him, right? They developed a quarterback, right? They didn't expect him to be a superstar out of the box. Is he a superstar now? Yes, he is. And that's really all that matters. And Trubisky played, despite holding a clipboard most of the season, for that same team with those same coaches. I think it would be ignorant to think that he might not come out of that situation and now be a different guy, a polished guy that he wasn't before, because someone actually said, hey, you got a few small holes in your game. Let's address those only, and now you're going to be a star in this league. That's where I think we're at with that.
And that's the one thing that everybody, like, if you talk to any NFL insider or expert, they say the work ethic is incredible for Trubisky. So, I mean, like, you add those things together, I think he wins out the starting job. Once they announce he's the starter, we're going to see an immediate demand spike based on the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base and market size. And then he goes out and say he plays good in week 1, maybe even wins a game. Heck, dude, his cards are going to skyrocket for the duration of time that he is playing at that level, you know? So that's kind of, and like, I'm going to sell there. I'm not as big of a collector of Trubisky as you are, Steve. But I do realize that there's some serious investment potential. And like, I am going to roll that dice at these prices because I feel like there's no downside. Like, I feel like in August, you know, with how good he's looked, like he beat out plenty of guys in the past for starting jobs, at least temporarily in Chicago, looked incredible preseason Buffalo. So I think he's going to do that again this August and at least get that starting job. And once that announcement is made, that's kind of like when I'll be ready to probably sell some. But at these prices, it's hard to go wrong.
I'll be honest, I haven't even listed. I have a lot of Trubisky as a Trubisky collector. I haven't listed almost any of them yet because why would I let him go for cheap? Is it a small gamble? It absolutely is a small gamble. You know, is there that small chance they take a quarterback and there's a quarterback controversy? Of course. But I think if my gut's right on this, and I think if we're looking at it from a, fine detail standpoint like we are, he probably starts. He probably sees success. And it's a better play to hold and wait than to just be like, unless you own the card for nothing and want to flip it, go for it. But I think that the ceiling on him is quite high if you wait to the right time.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I agree with Brian in the sense that they did give him backup quarterback money. But the thing is, like, they did that to kind of like as a prove it deal, right? And I mean, if they probably are going to draft a quarterback, especially after the tragedy that just happened with Dwayne Haskins. So I mean, this is crazy that what happened, but yeah, now their quarterback depth chart's even thinner. So they're most likely going to draft a quarterback. And I think you'll probably be able to find some really nice Trubisky deals here throughout the summer as the speculation is crazy because they drafted, whether it's Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis or one of these other quarterbacks, on who's going to be the starter, because a lot of people are still convinced that Mason Rudolph is the guy that's going to be, and he's been, serviceable. He's been a game manager kind of guy. The Pittsburgh is kind of like that team that's got a lot of, player loyalty. They've got this, they're big around the coach and the player loyalty and the connections there, the relationships. So I could see that. But at the same time, they want to win, and they're in a very difficult division, and they want to win. I think Trubisky come August is going to, like we talked about, for all these reasons, going to be the best shot at them winning in that division. And, I mean, they're kind of in a similar situation to the Lions in the sense that they are in a rebuild mode on their offensive line. And, the Lions could very well draft a quarterback as well in this draft. I don't think they will. I think that the GM, if you saw what they did last year in drafting offensive line, they get Jared Goff on like this bridge deal. It's clear that they're building up in the trenches first. They're building up in the skill positions first, and then they'll plug in that quarterback at the last minute on a rookie contract. Maybe 2023 is the year for Detroit. Maybe Detroit's like master plan. They draft offensive linemen, defensive linemen to draft this year. Make the defense better. They desperately need help there. Offensive line even more. After last year, they put a couple really good key pieces in. Now you bring in DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then next year you draft a Bryce Young and plug them in. And you got the Detroit Lions making a deep playoff run in the NFC North in 2023, 2024. I could see it happen because of the way the GM has run that team the last 2 years. And I really like Dan Campbell as a head coach. So I'm not so bullish on Jared Goff this year, maybe from a production standpoint, right? He does have draft pedigree. 2016 is a rare product. If you were to comp him out against Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott, I think you would probably find he's really cheap. So, I like the prism, but I just don't. 2022 Detroit Lions, I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, and I don't think that everything the coaches say is necessarily coach speak. I mean, they're legitimately talking about Goff as being their solution for the next several years. They're not. They were considering him a bridge quarterback, but the way he played the last quarter of the year last year, he's looking like their guy. And he's not going to necessarily command the kind of money that some of these number one draft pick QBs or top tier elite veteran QBs are command. So they can build an elite defense. They can build an elite O-line. And we've seen it year in and year out. You don't have to have a top three quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You need to have a great defense and a capable offense. I mean, defense is what wins championships. Let's be honest. Yeah,
hey, man, it's an age-old saying, but it's so true, man. Good for you, Matt, man. I'm glad you made it home to your computer. Got the man, Derek saying to buy DJ Moore little by little. Dude, I cannot imagine Carolina not drafting a quarterback in this year. Like, that's the end of Matt Rule's career in Carolina, at least if they don't. Like, you're really going to roll out Sam Darnold again? Like, dude, he has – I mean, I didn't – because NFC South, right? Sam Darnold comes to Carolina, so I watched the most Sam Darnold I've ever watched in my life whenever he joined Carolina, and I was just like, oh, my God, his – scan progression is so bad. Like, it's just bad, man. I get he's got some good mechanics. He's got some good traits about him. And he came out of the gates hot, but like, dude, if they roll him out again this year, it's going to be another losing season for Carolina. Matt Rule's job is pretty much done. Like, Cam Newton looks like he doesn't even look like Cam Newton anymore, dude. The guy looks so crazy. And like, I don't know, man.
Here's the thing. Darnold will start this year. Get the guy some help, right? If you work for the Carolina Panthers, get this guy some help. DJ Moore is outstanding, right? But there's no team in the NFL that can just have one good receiver, right? That's an old way. That was like the late 1980s where that worked. McCaffrey's got to stay healthy. DJ Moore is pretty reliable, but get him a second option. I mean,
what's wrong with Robbie Anderson or Terrace Marshall?
He was one of the least efficient per drop back. He was one of the least efficient receivers in the league last year.
I thought Robbie Anderson had some pretty good catching ability. Like, I know he's not like this savant route runner, but for an undrafted guy, like, we've seen Robbie Anderson go nuts in some games.
He was one of those guys that after he got paid, his production fell way off, and that's sad. I hate to see that, but that seems to be a reoccurring trend in the league, and that's why people don't like giving their position players a big contract, because then they're just like, hey, I got guaranteed money, I'm gonna dick off now.
I could see that in Robbie Anderson only because he came from being undrafted and had to work his ass off to get to where he was, and a really strange kind of build for a wide receiver. Super like the Slim Reaper, like Devonta Smith, but even more skinnier than Devonta Smith. Kind of just the build of Robbie Anderson is like unique. Like, I don't see any other wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb is kind of built like that as well, but maybe a little bit thicker. But yeah, I thought between him, Terrace Marshall had a pretty good profile from LSU. I thought he could be competent in Carolina. And obviously, Chris McCaffrey's got to stay healthy. You got to improve the offensive line. But I think there's obviously some coaching concerns there. Like, every time I see Matt Rule on TV, he doesn't really, like, I'm not a big Matt Rule fan. Like, I've never gelled with anything like that he's saying. Like, I don't know, man.
Here's the thing is, we've talked about how great they started the season last year, right? The first 4 or 5 games. If they truly sucked, that wouldn't be possible, right? Like, you might see a flash in the pan here and there, but 5 games in a row of him just balling out, that's not a mirage. That's like, there's some talent there. There's some skill there. And whatever the coaches did after that point, or when McCaffrey went down, clearly changed everything, because they just weren't the same after that.
Yeah, and they also lost, like, it was right around that time, their defense, they had the number 1 run defense through the first 5 weeks, and J.C. Horn was a safety they drafted in the first round, and he was playing really good. He was playing really good, and then he got hurt, and he was done for the year. So they lost some key pieces on defense, and they just kind of fell apart on offense. They couldn't keep up that momentum because they ran into some buzzsaws. We didn't play Carolina till like week 15 last year. It was weird. We played them in week 15, and then we played them in week 17 or 18 last year. But they ran into some other really tough teams that exposed them, especially with no J.C. Horn. And then they tried to get Darnold to do too much, and McCaffrey pulled his hamstring trying to high step and this and that. And so it was just kind of like the dominoes fell apart. And then they fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. Like, they tried to blame it on him, right? And then Matt Rule was under pressure. They bring Cam Newton back, scrambling, trying to win games. Like, I remember them plugging holes in on defense. They bring Cam Newton in, and it was just like, oh, blah, they were just like diarrhea of the, it was just like,
I'm not to sit here and say that they might not draft a QB, because they probably will. And I think that might be solely because they have no depth at the position. I mean, I think Darnold is probably like a maybe 1 to 3 year guy for them right now, unless he can really get it together or the team can get it together. But after him, it's an absolute disaster. The guys that are behind him are some of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. And I'm not talking just Cam Newton. I'm talking about like PJ Walker, who I think was like in the Canadian Football League. If you watched any of his gameplay last year, it was bad. I mean, it was like the kid picked halfway through the flag football draft on the playground bad. Like it was pretty bad.
That's hilarious, man. So yeah, I'm just, you know what? I think Carolina, it's going to be hard for them not to draft a quarterback, to maybe even just give Darnold some competition. Like, look, dude, get your crap together, man. Get your crap together. Like you can do this. You can look at 3 different receivers in the matter of under 5 seconds. You can do it. We believe in you. But if not, here's this guy right here we're going to put in, because Cam Newton is obviously washed up and like his mind is just on, I don't know, fashion. Fashion is Cam Newton. Like he's turned into like this fashionista guy now. Like, what the heck is this guy doing, man?
I don't know,
he looks
man.
like the biggest
maybe he's got a
goofball I've ever
future, maybe being like a headline or an article writer for Vogue or something.
I can see him walking down like a freaking modeling runway in Paris or some crazy crap. Like I don't know. He looks wild. If you've seen him lately on any of his.
I agree with Messiah in the chat. The Jimmy G thing. The problem though is the Niners aren't getting rid of him, and the reason they're not is because they don't believe that they have an answer at quarterback yet. So the Jimmy G will be there almost 100% for sure for this season, and maybe we'll see next year too. They're going to sit there and be like, they can say that Trey Lance is our guy going forward until their face turns blue. But guess what? If they really believed that, they would have already announced him the starter for next year. So that just tells you.
Dude, like freaking Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they're notorious for these smoke screens. And I think that they're just waiting to put their other puzzle pieces in place and see what money they've got left over for 2022, and then be like, hey, Jimmy, we've got this whole team, man. We want to bring you back for another year, but we can only give you this. And I think that's what's going to happen, And then if Jimmy goes down, then yeah, you got Trey Lance to put him in, and that's when. So I think ultimately Trey Lance is going to be a buy in like October, November. Obviously not right now. It's freaking incredibly expensive.
Yeah, and paying for Trey Lance right now is paying higher than any of the other QBs in this current draft class right now, for a guy that hasn't even seen the field more than 2 or 3 full games yet.
Yeah, and Baker's being blue balled or black balled. I mean, his balls are getting busted from the league right now. Like, I know he feels disrespected from the Browns, and he's gets a little reasons, but he's also a very dramatic guy. Like his emotions are like.
I agree. No, I agree that he's maybe a little bit dramatic. He's got every right to be, though. They're now saying that he had a second shoulder injury in week 6 that he played through. I mean, this guy put himself literally on the line to give this team a chance to win, period. Like, because if he wasn't playing, I don't know, they might have won 3 or 4 games last year probably. So yeah, it's a shame. But at the end of the day, it might not be this year, but the man's going to get his money, and it might be next year, the year after. But he's good enough to get a job, and it's probably going to be with Seattle, I think.
Jimmy G, the sex god. With that, we're signing off, guys. Yeah, they're pricey right now, Messiah. Wait and buy in on Trey Lance come October, November. I think you're going to see, like, throughout those weeks when we're in the thick of the season and there's that midseason lull on a lot of guys. I think especially if Jimmy G's out there starting, throwing the ball around, then Porn Star Jimmy, then those Trey Lances are going to dip. I think that's the time you buy because there's going to be a lot more supply in the market as well. Great stream tonight, Steve. I had a blast, man.
Same, man. Always look forward to Thursday nights, and let's maybe do a draft next week and get people hyped up for this upcoming season.
Yeah, if you're not maybe available this week, maybe we can get a time this week. And another thing that we want to start doing, guys, we're going to start spinning up more live streams for live eBay sniping. Like we're going to try and snipe some eBay auctions live on stream and just more best ball drafts, right? We've got the draft in 2 weeks. We've got hobby box breaks coming up live here on the channel. And so it gives us a couple weeks to get all this stream yards camera stuff figured out, and it's gonna be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it, dude. I'm excited.
And as we sign off here, for those that aren't in the Discord or Patreon members yet, this man puts in a lot of time, a lot of work, and you get way more than your money's worth, in my opinion. I myself am a member of Andy's community, and I encourage you guys to do the same.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the support, guys. Yep, we have a lot of fun in there, man. And yeah, man, I always aim to provide more value than what it costs. So appreciate that, man. Appreciate those words.
We love you. We love you.
All right, guys. Love you guys too. I'm out. We're out.
Peace, guys.
Peace. We'll see you next time.